Let me ask you a question real quick. What do you think is the most powerful phrase in the human language? Now, before you answer, I really want you to think about it for a second. Initially, I thought the most powerful word in the human language was something like "I love you," right? As you're expressing, heartfelt love and emotion for somebody. Um, and I think that's actually a powerful word, but I still don't think that is the most powerful word in there or phrase in the human language. What I actually think is the most powerful phrase is probably something that you're not thinking about. It's this: how are you doing? Yeah, that simple phrase, how are you doing? And genuinely mean, how are you doing? There are so many people walking around this world right now, and their buckets, their emotional buckets, their bucket of life is draining. I think everybody has a specific bucket, and that bucket, whether we know it or not, that bucket actually has holes in it. And some people's holes are bigger than other holes, but the liquid that it has to hold is always leaking out. And it takes people to actually go and encourage people and support people and pour into that emotional bucket. I look at life and I believe that I'm one of those people who's been charged to actually go and pour into people's buckets. And here's the thing about pouring into the bucket: the more often people pour into your emotional bucket or your life bucket, the more full and fulfilled you can walk around in life, right? If you are not getting poured into from an emotional standpoint, eventually you get to the point where life is frustrating. Life is tiresome. Life gets old, right? And you begin asking yourself questions like, why in the world am I even here? Like, why does all this even matter? So that's why I really believe it's important for us to understand that we, people, human society, man, we have a responsibility not only to ensure that we keep our buckets full, but that we also are pouring in and filling up other people's buckets, just as we would like our buckets poured into and filled up. The cool thing about being an encourager or being a bucket filler is that it doesn't take much to fill up a bucket, right? And if I'm honest, those people who fill up my bucket, I call those people friends. But I call them my friends because they are doing something for me that is so important that without it, I couldn't be able to fulfill my life's purpose or my life's mission, because I would be empty all the time. I think about, my dad. When I was growing up, my dad would always say, son, if you got more than 5 friends, right? If you got more than 5 people that you truly call friends, you're blessed, you're lucky, or you need to be careful, right? But I never really understood what he meant by that. But I now, getting a little older, I really believe that he was talking more about you need to have people who are there to support you in the good times, the rough times, the bad times, right? These are people who are going to support you when things are going good, but they're also people who are going to even support you more when things aren't going so good. And when I say support, I don't necessarily mean, giving you things or any of that. What I do mean though is support by filling up your bucket. And let me give you an example. I got a friend of mine. His name is Darnell Jackson. Amazing guy. If you don't know Darnell Jackson, make sure you check him out. Follow him at Jackson Park and look at some of the things that he creates. But Darnell and I, man, we have this unique, amazing friendship, and the friendship is not built on what I can do for him or what he can do for me. It's simply built on the fact that we are there for each other to support each other, whether it's good, whether it's bad. And check this out. That doesn't mean that we talk to each other every single day, but we check in with each other to make sure that every single day is okay. Does that make sense to y'all, right? So I don't talk to Darnell every day, but we check in with each other, right? I'll give you an example. This past Friday, personally, I woke up and life was lifing. It wasn't that it was bad. It was just life is lifing, and you carry so much, right? I know I carry so much. I carry more than you let on, right? So that morning, I was actually, I was getting in the car and I'm trying to get myself together, and I'm like, okay, we gotta get this day done. And out of the blue, Darnell does not call me. What he did, he sent me this text message, and the text message, it simply said, "How are you doing on this glorious Friday?" And then he asked me question like a question. He's like, "What are you grateful for today?" And y'all, that simple text message, it got me refocused. It got me thinking about the stuff that I should be thinking about, which is, I'm extremely blessed, as opposed to thinking about the stuff that was weighing me down. It was something that literally filled up my bucket. So when he posed the question, I had to stop and I reflected just for a few minutes while I was driving off. And I was like, you know what? I'm extremely grateful to have a God who loves me in spite of me, in spite of my shortcomings, my mess, my all the mucky stuff. In spite of me, to have a God who loves me unconditionally and is there to pick me up. Like, I am so grateful to have a God like that. I am so grateful to have a wife of 25 years plus, because y'all know we was together way before the marriage time, right? But to have a spouse who I'm married to for 25 years, who is there to love me unconditionally, to support me, to pick me up, to fight for me, to fight with me, to ride or die with me, right? Like, I'm grateful to have her by my side, right? I'm grateful to have children and grandchildren who can put a smile on my face with a simple "Dad, you're a pretty cool dude," or my daughter coming to my office at school and just wanting to hang out with Dad, or my son calling me and be like, "Hey, Pops, what's going on?" You know what I'm saying? Or to see my grandson at an event, and he just run up to me and say, "Pop." Those are small little things, but they fill up your bucket, right? They fill up your bucket. And Darnell did not know, but that simple text message, y'all, it was a text message. It wasn't even like a phone call. It was a text message. And so I responded back to him, and I told him the three things that I was grateful for. And I said, well, what are you grateful for? Because, we got to reciprocate, right? We got to, when somebody else fills up our bucket, we try to fill their bucket back up also. So I asked him, what are you grateful for? And he shared with me his three things that he was grateful for. And then we had a moment, right? He's like, man, don't get me emotional this morning. I'm like, well, you started it. Don't get me emotional this morning, right? Because again, we were able to think on things that really truly mattered, and that was something that filled up my bucket, and it filled up my bucket to the point that I was ready. I was okay to literally be able to go on throughout the day, right? So this is an example, y'all, of what I'm talking about when you have people in your life who are checking in on you, right? How are you doing? That's why I truly believe that is the most powerful phrase in the human language. How are you doing, right? And if I'm honest, I have other friends, who check in on me like that. I do have that handful, if you will, those 5 folks, that tribe of people that my dad would speak about, who check in on me, who support me, who make sure that I'm okay. The funny thing is, most of those people don't even live near me. That's the crazy thing. But they check in on me, man, and they make sure that I'm good. So So let me ask you, how are you doing? No, like really, how are you doing? And I'm not talking about like look. Well, let me say it this way: I'm not looking for the answer that you think that I want you to give me. I really genuinely want to know, how are you doing? In the comments section below, if you don't mind, give me on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not good, 10 being amazing. In the comments box, just let me know, scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing? For real, I really genuinely want to know. Put that in the comments box for me. And then the second thing that I'm going to leave you with is this: what 3 things are you grateful for? Let me know, man. I'm hoping that this blessed you today, because like I said, I know it blessed me, and it wasn't something that was huge, right? When we think about friendship, we think about all the big things that everybody, it wasn't big. It was a simple gesture to make sure that the people that we say that we are rocking with, that we checking in on them to make sure that their buckets stay full. So with that being said, hey, I hope this blessed you, man. It is your favorite uncle, Uncle Phil. We do these things all the time. If you're not following me, please make sure, hey, you go ahead and you give me a quick little follow or subscribe, because, we do things like this to make sure that you're taken care of. So I appreciate y'all. Well, you take care. I'll take care too. But I'll check you out on the next one. Well, y'all. Peace.